The chair of the House Intelligence Committee, Representative Mike Rogers, is leaving Congress to become a radio host. All right, buddy, welcome to my world, where I will destroy you. But he's getting a head start on what these right-wing talkers always do, which is making bad arguments. So listen to him attack Obama for agreeing with him.
Keep learning about in Nigeria, the kidnapping of almost 300 schoolgirls. We understand the United States has sent some help in there. Do you know what is exactly we're doing?
Well, it looks as if there's a hostage negotiator and then some military advisors. But here's the point on this, Bob, and if we look at this, this was a problem in 2010 when Boko Haram said that they wanted to be part of al-Qaeda. That's where the problem started. And so this policy, this new ecosystem of terrorism that's all the way from Nigeria, all the way across northern Africa to AQAP in Yemen, all the way over to Pakistan and Afghanistan, you can't base your policy on what's trending on Twitter. It has to be more than hashtags and selfies. This is a huge and growing problem that's really been relatively ignored. I just got back from Chad. Chad has been screaming for help from the United States for 2 years. On one front, Boko Haram. On the north, they have al-Qaeda. And in their southeast, they have al-Shabaab. And they're fighting to try to push all of that back. Candidly, not a lot of help from the United States. Can we help with the girls? I think we can, and we should, and we must. But we also have to worry about the women of Afghanistan, some 11 million. We're getting ready to walk away from them. In Syria, you have 12 million women who are under siege, some 150,000 Syrians. Last week, a school was bombed, 25 kids killed. This is going to continue to happen unless we have a robust, holistic approach to what is radicalism and extremism popping up all around the world.
See, this is why the Republicans are so dangerous, is that if you listen to his comments, they sound benign enough, but when you actually break it down, as I was jotting down as he was talking there, so he said, Chad needs help. Chad, how many of the American people, what percentage wants to send our military to Chad? Raise your hand. Fucking crickets, nobody. He's like, Afghanistan, man, Afghanistan, we're going to have to withdraw from there. By the way, President Obama actually agrees with this idiot, and he wants to stay in Afghanistan longer, but he couldn't get an agreement, so now we're pretty much forced to do what's called the zero option, which is withdrawing by the end of the year, even though they tried to get us to stay there another 11 years. So this guy signed him up for that policy that only 17% of the American people want, which is to remain in Afghanistan. By the way, that's less popular than Iraq was at its least popular point and Vietnam at its least popular point. The Afghanistan War is less popular than Vietnam at the height of its unpopularity right now. That really puts in perspective how ridiculous it is. But he wants to go to Chad. He wants to go to Afghanistan. He wants to go to Syria still, as he mentioned there. Hold the phone. You do know that we already got the most of the chemical weapons out of Syria, right? You do know that the United Nations has been going in and out of there, removing the chemical weapons, right? You do know that the whole point of the attack originally would have been to try to get the chemical weapons out, right? So what you're saying is, yeah, I know that we were supposed to attack only to try to eventually get out the chemical weapons, and I know we succeeded in getting out the chemical weapons without even attacking, but I want to attack anyway? That's your decision? And also, another thing to keep in mind is over 50% of the rebel movement in Syria, they are jihadists. You have some people who are Kurds, and you have some people in the FSA, the Free Syrian Army, that are more secular, that are actually just fighting because they don't like Assad and they want to topple him. But the overwhelming majority of the movement, the rebel movement, they are jihadists. ISIS is one example. Al-Nusra Front is another example. Some of these groups are actually considered too radical even for al-Qaeda, where al-Qaeda has come out and said, we're not with them because they're killing too many, Muslim civilians that we don't agree with, etc., etc. But here Mike Rogers said, no, I want to get more involved there. And do what? What do you want to do? You want to topple Assad, and then what? There's going to be a power vacuum, and most of the rebel movement is jihadists, and then they fill that fucking power vacuum, and the next thing you know, you have Al-Qaeda-stan in the middle of the Middle East. Is that what you want to do? But see, this is why I'm saying that the Republican ideas on foreign policy are so dangerous, because they have a one-size-fits-all policy for anything. Invade, attack, get more involved. All they want to do is expand the American empire. You know? Meanwhile, like we always talk about on this show, what about our income inequality here? What about the fact that our bridges are literally collapsing? What about the fact that our infrastructure gets a grade of D because it's so shitty? from the American Civil Society of Engineers. They do a thing every few years where they look into how our infrastructure is doing. We have a fucking nation to rebuild here. You know, we just had the Great Recession. And we're, what? Okay, so we got some more private sector jobs that are gained, but they're mostly low-wage jobs. Poverty is on the rise. We don't have enough to take care of here without having to worry about what the fuck is going on in Chad. And also, last thing I'll say is, President Obama largely agrees with this dipshit anyway, and he's still attacking Obama. Obama does agree with American imperialism. He loves the 900 military bases we have, or else he would have cut back on them. He tried to keep us in Afghanistan. He's still doing drone strikes in Yemen and Somalia and Pakistan. I mean, by and large, Obama is an interventionist. Mike Rogers is an interventionist, but Mike Rogers attacks Obama anyway. Apparently, for the establishment, especially establishment Republicans, there's no such thing as too much war.